Hello and welcome to Osquery Office Hours for May 6th, 2026. Good to see you all here. And I believe we have Seth joining later, hopefully. Let's kick it off with announcements. Osquery 5.23.0 is declared stable. It's now the website is updated, the packaging repositories have been updated, it's all there. I announced it into the general channel on Slack, so it is all there. As a reminder, we do have an intention that the next release of Osquery is Osquery 6, which is primarily connected to the major toolchain dependency updates on Linux. But now that we've done that, I'm also looking into upgrading our C++ and C standards, upgrading libraries, namely Boost, probably some others as well. I'd probably like to do RocksDB as well. But I'm saying all of this in part so that if anyone has ideas of things that you think should make it into a major version release, you've got some opportunity to do that. I see a hand raised from Mike.
Yeah, is it a good time to bring you some security issues? I mean, it's never a great time, but if we have, I have to get through to some disclosure and like corporate stuff to show it, but there's some things that I could probably bring to you. Whatever the current best way to do that is.
You can use the GitHub feature to report, and I
Okay.
think it then becomes viewable to I can't remember exactly who, but it's definitely at least only people who have commit access to the repo. And then we can, once you report it there, we can discuss there. We can also discuss on Slack. So really whatever works best for you.
Okay.
If we're going to discuss on Slack, probably we would create a new private channel to discuss with some of like the core folks who are active, and you or whoever else on your team.
I volunteered for this. We know as at Apple we have the early access to Cloud Mythos, and so
Oh, great.
we lobbied to get all of our our stack processed by that, and so I'm able to probably get pull requests together for all the stuff that affects us, and then for all the stuff that doesn't, like Windows tables or things, then I should be able to like file issues with enough detail that someone could take an action, but I may not like get hours at work to do it. Like I may just be
Okay.
able to bring up issues to you, and you could decide what to do.
Sounds good. Yeah. I'm not sure the link. Oh yeah. Okay. So there's a report a vulnerability link. If you go to, I'll paste it into chat. osquery/security/advisories, and then
Okay.
it's viewable and discussable there, and can then the issue can be made public later and that kind of thing. Pulling up chat here. I would say, like, if you found issues, we should fix them. It's not exactly the most convenient time because we're sort of in this like transition to Osquery 6. But maybe what we'd do is cherry pick those security
Yeah.
onto like a 5.23.1 or 5.24 if we're making like substantial changes, I suppose.
Yeah, and triaging which ones are more urgent than others.
Yeah.
A lot of this, is mitigated. Like I've I can't talk about the specifics, but I haven't seen a single one yet where I'm like, whoa, this is a big deal. Uh,
Okay.
so
Well,
yeah,
that's
but there are
that's nice to hear. I'm not surprised that you're finding stuff.
it's like
Uh,
medium severity sort of stuff, but it's legit, and it's about 70 issues. So that's why I'm telling you now,
okay.
because it's across all every part of the code.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's not
It
nothing
makes sense.
nothing huge, but you probably want to fix because
Yeah.
some of it can be problems.
Yep. It makes sense. Okay, that's I will see if like I can sort of have my time allocated specifically towards like triaging and looking and stuff because it definitely sounds important to do.
Okay.
And then Mike, you and I can kind of work hand in hand on a lot of that. And yeah, whatever. I mean, awesome. Anything that you can get your work hours allocated towards, that'd be great. And things that you can't, like, you know, Fleet or others in the community are, will probably be motivated to address. So yeah, we'll talk about them privately and figure out what we need to do.
Okay.
Okay. Questions, issues, PRs that people want to discuss. Mike, I see you've got 8857. That's the init script packaging thing.
Yeah, it's I think a relatively small change, but it does need to be done in the packaging repo and the I guess Osquery main repo. And the purpose of the change is so the folks that update Linux images for us, um, they complain that um, Osquery's RPM installer creates a dependency hell issue for them because it deposits files in two places and on some system. Well, so there's two different ways to, I guess, launch the service in Linux and based on if you have system D or not. And for the machines with no legacy method, the file that it writes in the legacy location causes a problem for additional dependencies. So this is all like, in the automated dependency installs and stuff. Some of the packages they want will error out because a file exists in a place where it doesn't need to on that system. So if there could be a conditional check, and this is what the PR does, there's a conditional check that says, oh, on this system, we only need to put the install file in this place. And then it does that. It wouldn't cause the issue and things would be all cool. And so yeah, we put the PR up and then I scanned the backlog of issues and I did see that someone else complained about this in 2023. So it's been around for a while. But
Yeah.
yeah.
There's also, so there was some discussion about this a couple months ago in 7689. Seth and I were chatting about it because it was the same thing. We're shipping init and systemd, and it's been 10 years since systemd or longer, right? It's pretty much the default in a lot of places on Linux. There was some discussion about just getting rid of init scripts and moving it as an example to the dock if people need to repackage it, and upstream just shipping the systemd version.
That would be the opinionated choice. I know that Osquery is really conservative generally with how much it supports. So the conservative choice is just like, if you don't need it, don't put it there. And that's what the PR does.
It seems fine to me. I've probably been avoiding it because I didn't super understand. It also seems like something that may would make a lot of sense for like the major version release. Like, okay, also we've changed like the way that some packaging works, but it sounds like as well it should be really like transparent to users. Like they probably shouldn't notice.
Yeah. And I'm trying to figure out how it works for you now and you haven't noticed the problem because it only occurs when it's certain configurations, right? So reproducing it to show you that it's a problem could be much more work. But if you need to be convinced, we can try to demonstrate that.
Not, I don't particularly. To be honest, I think that probably what's going on is both Fleet and Collide do their own packaging of agents, and so wouldn't run into these kind of issues because our packages are different. We don't use Osquery packages; we use Osquery binaries. And that's
Well,
that's what I'm most aware of.
It should, like you said, it should be transparent. So we don't even need to like. I don't think we need to wait to a major version because it's not breaking anything to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree. But the next release, I mean, I think that if we're gonna make a patch release or we're gonna make another Osquery 5 release, I think we should probably try to target that being just security fixes. And then I think, but if this is a critical bug fix for someone, like I could see arguing to get that in there. But I think the next release off of the master branch will be Osquery 6.
Since we're bumping the major version of Osquery from 5 to 6, it seems like considering whether to remove the old init scripts during that process would make sense, because that would be a major breaking change if somebody still needs init scripts.
That is not what this PR does, though.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood this discussion then.
This PR just says if you don't have init and you have systemd, then you don't need the init file. So don't put that init file in that location because it causes issues for some people in some systems. But you don't need to remove init support. And I mean, I don't know if you need to break something like that, but it's up to you if you just want to modernize.
But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the PR. It's like there's a post install script, and the change is like only install the init scripts if there are these like initd directories.
Yeah.
If they don't exist, like on systems that are not using init, newer systems, then just don't do anything.
So I guess my question is, there are going to be some places where there are going to be some systems that are using systemd but still have the init.d directory for backwards compatibility, in which case we would drop potentially both. Is that the only way to check for like systemd or initd, like one or the other?
I think the PR says if the directory is there, then go ahead, but don't make it.
Which
Okay.
I think would match the current behavior, basically. Like the current behavior is it's installed no matter what, and I guess the directory is created even if it doesn't exist, which is the thing that is annoying, I'm guessing.
Well, it's not that it's annoying. It's that a subsequent package says, "Oh, you got this directory here. I can't install." And so a subsequent package is going to error out, and then like I guess the build process for corporate images or whatever has to be reordered, or they have to do something and shim something in there to clean up after one before the other, or they have to create a dependency association that didn't necessarily need to be there. So they're doing hacks, and it's a workaround, but I get the complaints all the time. And then the urgency is not critical because we have the workarounds, and because like it's open source, so we can fix our side. We already did. But if you would like to have this in the upstream, I just wanted to field any questions and have that discussion.
So the reason that I bring this up is that there is, if we do this right, there's a way to close 7963 as well. 7689 as well, because the problem there is that it's booted with systemd, but initd exists, and we're putting it in both places, and that's also still causing problems. Just because the file's being written, even because the directory exists on some systems, even though they're booted with systemd.
Is that, I don't remember the number, but is that the issue so I modified Anne's pull request description to include a link to an issue I thought was related.
7.9, no,
Oh, there's
it
another.
might be,
You linked 7949.
yeah, I think it might actually be the same, similar, but not quite the same issue, although likely a related root cause.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they got two issues in the repo then that this would seemingly address.
Okay.
So this does, Eric, are you saying this will address that, or you're saying you think that there's something missing from this that should be included that would then address both?
So my concern is that there's three cases, right? There's systemd only and init.d doesn't exist. It'll do the right thing. It'll install the systemd file, this proposed fix. There's the old school where it doesn't, where init.d exists and it's not using systemd, and we give it the init file. But there's one in the middle where it's using systemd and the init.d directory exists. And based on what I looked at the code, then we'll put both in, and that wouldn't fix this issue because the issue is that the init.d file exists at all on systems where, even though they're using systemd, init.d exists.
Yeah, and I mean now I'm seeing like there was some discussion in this issue, the 7689, where someone ideology sec says like 2026, like should we? Oh, that's you. Okay,
That's
great. I see it's Eric. Yeah, should we even be shipping init at all? Which is what you're saying right now. Should we even be shipping the init script at all? And Steph agrees, like maybe we shouldn't.
Maybe one option here is to merge this
agree
pull
as
request
well,
now,
actually.
and then in version 6 to remove init. Like we can get this in and get it fixed, and then for version 6 say we're deprecating init.
Fine with me. I think that would make sense. Like, I mean,
Okay.
really, who is using init at this point? And if they are, like, yeah, they can.
Does Osquery support Alpine? Because isn't that
not officially?
I believe Alpine doesn't have systemd.
We don't ship packages for Alpine.
Are there requests for it that haven't been met but have a large volume of people? That's the largest distro to my knowledge that doesn't support systemd. Supposedly Gentoo also doesn't use systemd, but I don't know that for a fact. I haven't investigated it. That was just AI's statement.
The most recent thing I can see about Alpine was like a comment that someone made in 2021 on GitHub.
Yeah.
Do I remember correctly that Alpine doesn't use libc? It uses like Musel or something like that?
Yeah.
So that's, I think, probably the much bigger issue for Osquery. So I don't think the binaries would even.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it runs at all on Alpine from the testing that we did in-house.
Okay, yeah.
But I figured I'd mention it because that's the only distro that I can think of that I know is widely used and doesn't support systemd at all.
Yeah, and I think that if someone were going to go to that effort, they would be having to redo the packaging. Well, first of all, you'd have to be dealing with like the binaries issue. And then you'd have to be dealing with the packaging issue. And in that case, you could then just write the appropriate initd configuration for those Alpine packages. So I don't really see like a downside in like the theoretical case that someone's going to work on Alpine. I don't really see a downside to removing the init support, just because it's going to have to be like a separate packaging anyway. Unless I'm misremembering, I think that Alpine doesn't use like Deb or RPM packages, right?
No, it
No,
doesn't.
it's APK.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So pull request is good as is, and we can revisit removing init from
Yeah. Does that sound good
D6.
to folks? I mean, it sounds good to me.
Yep, that sounds good. If you remove a nit, you'll find out if anyone cares. That's kind of like
I
what
love
we've
the
been
screen
doing.
test.
Yeah. I
Spring
mean, put
test.
it in a release candidate and notify
Yeah.
or something. Post
Yeah,
whatever
for
we would
sure. I mean,
normally do.
it would go in the release notes, and we do publish release candidates. I'm not convinced that many folks test release candidates besides Fleet and Collide, but
Fair.
they are there.
You'll find out months after the fact. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well-
again, Fleet and Collide also both do their own packaging, so that none of this affects Fleet and Collide anyway.
Yeah. Could post it in the Osquery Linux channel. See if anybody raises a major immediate
Yeah.
thing. I doubt it
Yeah.
though. I'm
Yeah.
asking our kernel devs if any of them know of a specific major distro that doesn't RPM or Deb based that doesn't use systemd at this point, but I think
Awesome.
most of them do.
Yeah, and Philip, if you learn anything useful, like let's chat about it more and maybe core channel.
I'll post. Well, and I can post it
Or
into
in the
the
issue.
into the issue. Yeah, that's issue 27 on Osquery packaging, or no? Where?
Okay, so there's I would say there's PR number 27, I think, on the packaging that you're talking about.
It's
Probably
28.
Oh, 28. Is there an issue?
PR.
What's the
There's a
issue
PR
27?
28, an issue 27, or
Oh.
there's Osquery
I see.
whole PR 8857. You want me to just chime
I-
in directly on the PR?
I think that maybe what we should do is, well, so the issue 27 on packaging and the 8857 PR, the ones that Mike has asked us to discuss here, are the ones that don't generally are not really changing, should hopefully not be changing the functionality for most users, because it's the thing that still maintains the init script and just places it when the directory exists, so that we're not creating the directory if it doesn't exist. I think that if we're discussing the removing init entirely from the packaging, maybe that should go into 7689.
7689.
That's the issue number. It's linked in the chat here as well.
Osquery D requires sysv.
Yep.
I'm going to rename that issue right now.
Thanks.
And I'm going to say like, we discussed this is today. Renaming the message to remove init packaging. Great settings.
Oh, are you making a comment? I was just adding one.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're already done, feel free.
Done.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm just gonna say like additionally, oh no, you already linked 8857. I think we're good. Cool. Yeah, so I'd say fill up this if you I would say this would be the issue, like if we want further discussion around removing init entirely, we should do it on this one. And I will throw that into the Linux channel. Okay, cool. So yeah, Mike, I'll review and merge those PRs.
Awesome. All right. Thank you for the discussion.
Yeah, thank you. Other folks have questions, issues, PRs to discuss. Okay.
Hey,
yeah, Philip.
Zach, do you know if this should be a quick one. Do you know if the OS query that contains the secure boot stuff is in the new Fleet?
That's it is in stable now on Fleet.
Okay.
So anywhere that you're auto updating to stable, you have it already.
Okay.
We pushed it yesterday, I believe.
Okay. Thanks.
Why such a reaction there?
No, just because it was yesterday. I thought it was funny. So.
By the way, and I will mention, I should actually mention to folks here, a number of our customers found false positives from Sentinel-1 after we pushed that update. That we've been sort of corresponding with customers in Sentinel-1 and that kind of thing, and we think it may be because of the new approach for reading the keychain on macOS, the one that we did this whole workaround to try to avoid the corruption. So now we think that we've fixed the corruption issue, but now Sentinel-1 doesn't like it. We are trying to get them to sort of like allow less step, but they're also like, well, but we want to alert when something reads the keychain files. So it is, this is like one of those things that pops up for Osquery as with every other security tool over and over, is that like we do things that trigger EDR vendors. And so if other folks see related issues, like Seth, I feel like since he deploys across many different environments, may be a likely one to see such things. Seth, I was just saying that the new keychain code in Osquery seemed to trigger false positives from Sentinel-1 for a number of our customers.
Like a runtime analysis problem?
Yeah, it's the. I mean, we're not certain what it is, but it says like the name of the detection is something like keychain temp file access or something like that.
Yeah.
So and like the new approach is like read the keychain file, write it to another file, then open it with the set keychain open, which is the API that, as far as we can tell, corrupts, even though you'd think it should just be doing a read.
I think it would be really good if we could figure out how to publish that into our release notes, into a blog post, like query. Because of the nature of what Osquery is, we run into false positives with EDR software all the time, right? And I feel like it's more and more people are using AI to diagnose problems as a replacement for Google. So if we can figure out how to put that tidbit of information somewhere that Google and AI will ingest it.
Good point. Yeah, why don't I just like open and then close, I suppose, an issue in the Osquery repo, just documenting what we know. I know that Fleet, and something else that I'll point out is, again, we're still trying to figure out exactly what's going on, but Sentinel-1 like triggers on, what we call Orbit, which is the thing that execs essentially Osquery, and we think it's because like Sentinel-1 is probably reading up the process tree for like what's the responsible process that's not like launchd. So launchd runs Orbit runs Osquery. Sentinel-1 says like Orbit did this thing. Like Orbit's not doing that thing, but Osquery is, and Osquery was launched by Orbit. So anyway, and especially because of all the concern it creates for our customers, like we're working on some documentation around these things. So I will try to link those, or I will link that into whatever issue that we file on Osquery at some point. I haven't yet heard of any sort of raw, like plain Osquery detections around this, but that wouldn't probably happen as immediately as like when we heard from some of our customers yesterday as soon as we pushed the update.
The other place I know we've seen a lot of issues is around Windows events. We picked up a lot of EDR stuff on the way customers configure Osquery to follow Windows events. So you get like that. I think the user enumeration is another one that frequently triggers EDR. So there's just like Osquery hits the same APIs. So
yeah. I mean, it's like it's understandable that those things that we trigger those things. But I think the thing that's like that's challenging for me and that's like upsetting for me is like it's understandable because of course that's behavior that should be concerning, but like for fairly widely used security tools, it would be nice if like the vendors had a better process for addressing these things so that they're not freaking out a whole bunch of their customers who use these widely used security tools. And we're finding that SentinelOne does not seem to have a good process for doing that. But
I mean, I don't even know. I don't know because like there's an interesting question of if malware ever decides to start using Osquery.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, then there's that too. So
I don't know what the right answer is.
The last time I deep dived something like this with one of the EDR engineers, the item that they told me they always flag is the heuristic of a process spins off another process, which copies a different file that's not related at all. And I seem to recall that matching what we had to do with the keychain, isn't it? Osquery has to copy the keychain data to another one so that we can read it so that we don't corrupt it. Yeah. They now at the time when we were dealing with that, they really didn't have one, but it sounds like something that maybe multiple groups pushing on the different EDR vendors can have them add these heuristics for these specific things are okay. You know, if Osquery is, or if Orbit or Launcher are spinning off Osquery and then Osquery is doing an action, allow those. I wonder if we have multiple customers and Osquery push on the vendor if it would work.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, we have like a personal. We have a very good connection into SentinelOne, and even with that, we were able to get a response, thankfully. But the response was sort of like, yeah, these things happen, and like you should tell your customers to file issues, and like we may or may not address it. So I agree, Philip. Like it does seem like it would make sense. Like if Orbit or Launcher is executing Osquery and Osquery is doing normal Osquery things, that seems like it should be normal. But that also sounds like something that like an engineer on their team would actually have to address. And like, do they care? What's yet to be seen. What they did tell us is that SentinelOne users can configure like publishers as exceptions, which I assume would be like on the developer ID. And so we are also working on figuring out like how do we document for our customers? How can you allow lists in your SentinelOne like fleet software and Osquery software?
I will tell you that at least in the companies I've been in, the security organizations have rejected that every single time because the worst possible attack that can occur through things that have device management on thousands of devices, and allow listing that widespread can cause a major attack.
So it's like it's a pick your poison kind of thing, I think, ultimately.
It's just, you know, if we can allow list a single heuristic of Orbit load this or Orbit load Osquery copy keychain, that's a lot nicer.
That's better
than allow list absolutely everything that Orbit does. Because if you think
Yeah,
about
for
it,
sure.
Orbit
Because
can run a
yeah,
script that could do
I
anything. Yeah.
yeah, and I buy that. I buy that completely, Philip. And also, you know, if there's a vulnerability that someone exploits in one of those, then if it's allow listed, like, are we gonna not catch that? So
Yeah, living off the land is an appropriate phrase here as well.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I do think it's a pick your poison thing. I do wish that the EDR vendors like had a better way of addressing this, but I think that ultimately information is important here. So yeah, I'll file an issue, and I'm just like giving folks the heads up here because we saw that.
Yeah, I feel like documentation still feels like the right answer because that pushes it into people, you know, yep, we know this can happen.
Yeah.
You decide, right? Like, yeah. So sorry I'm late. I see a couple of things here that I may or may not have any answers to. I think it's super cool that Apple ran Mythos across Osquery. I was playing with Claude Code and it found a lot of like little kind of low severity things. I opened up a bunch of PRs a little while ago. Zach, you read through. All of those came out of not Mythos, but you know,
Yeah,
Claude Code with a pretty explicit prompt to go find nonsense.
Yeah, I could tell, and it was like, and it was legit stuff. None of it looked super concerning to me, but it was legit stuff.
Yeah, I think Mythos is probably some of the things I've read is that Mythos is not dramatically different than a well-prompted Claude instance. So my hunch is that there may be a lot of overlap there, if not in actual findings, then in thematic findings.
Yeah, that makes sense. And
I will
Mike,
say,
go ahead.
if you're going to prompt an LLM to do a security review, give it the security model that we have in our documentation, because otherwise it's going to tell you like, oh, if you had a malicious TLS fleet server, and it's going to go on on a tangent, and you don't.
I didn't
that's
have a
not part of
problem
this.
with that. What I ended up doing is really narrowed it to be like, okay, find me all the potential buffer overflows, right? Find me all the, you know, examine this file by file and look for, you know, things that could be chained, you know, and it would be like, hey, there's this TL. I'm like, whatever, ignore that. So it did okay.
Is this the new Mythos that I just read from whoever built it, that it does that chaining automatically and it's only been granted to like 10 companies because it's too powerful?
Yeah.
Yes, but that's also marketing copy.
Yeah, I mean it is, but
so funny thing is that it will tell you that there's an issue, and it'll provide like a multi-step attack scenario, and that's very difficult to validate. So it's taking me a lot of time, but I'm not going to give you the direct output because I think that some of it is not useful. So when you get the output, don't be like swayed that, you know, it's amazing and world changing. I mean, it is. I guess it's accelerating, but it has the same. I guess I shouldn't be giving subjective opinions on this call. Sorry.
I mean, we're interested in your subjective opinions. We've been talking about using LLMs for writing code on these calls recently. So,
okay, subjective opinion is that it's not representing my employer. I'll say that I think we need to have an automation in the review that catches these as they're introduced, but to acknowledge that there's a false positive cost you have to pay for that to add that automation, because now you have a PR is denied and you have to go, why? You know, it's not real, and then approve it manually. So, you know, do you pay the cost an hour later? Yeah.
How would you set that up? So Osquery, right? We have relatively broad GitHub access. GitHub's pushing a whole of agentic workflow. Like, is GitHub's agentic workflow promptable enough to get anything good out of a PR review? Would we need to look at something else?
I mean, I don't know how it works on GitHub public. I know on GitHub Enterprise, you know, someone has set it up for us that we can plug in a PR review assistant, and we have, but that's for other repos, not this one. And then in Copilot, if it can offer suggestions of security focused review, and if you can prompt it and guide it to stay on that topic, I don't know if that would be helpful or just noise. It's something to maybe try.
I would be supportive. I don't know that I can pick that up on my own, but if someone wanted to play with
Steph, I can look into it. We've used CodeRabbit like on and off recently at Fleet, and I would say the experience has been medium. We've used it on and off. I wonder if we could configure. I haven't been super involved with that internally, but I do wonder if for something like Osquery, we could say like for CodeRabbit, focus on just potential security vulnerabilities like memory stuff. Like we don't want everything.
I think there,
or we could just see how it does.
So GitHub Copilot has a concept of instructions that you add into a .github folder. When you put in those instructions, you can provide it a lot of context about the repo, and you can limit it on what you want it to review and provide feedback on. I wrote one recently for a pretty complex Ansible collection that we have, where we have very stringent rules on how to write stuff, and it's done very well. I haven't tried to write it just for security reviews, but one of the things that we include in there is, check for security issues, check for gaps that we're leaving that could open up a computer to attack, those kinds of things. You can have it automatically review all PRs. The biggest thing that I would say is it's heavily dependent on what model you use. Some of the models for GitHub Copilot will give you not very helpful things. But if you use one of the more recent ones, you get pretty good data out of it and pretty good reviews. But that includes cost, I think. I don't know how they do OS. I don't know how GitHub handles Copilot for open source.
I can take a look at these things, folks. Like I have all the necessary admin permissions, and I've been looking a lot into like CI automation, build process, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. So I'll have a look.
Yeah, I'm supportive. The only concerns I have is just that we don't end up like tied to an expensive vendor. But like if Fleet or someone else wanted to be like, look, we have this thing, we'll just stick you under our umbrella. Like we'd use it as long as it was there.
So far, like I'm looking at, starting June 2026, Copilot code reviews consume GitHub Actions minutes, but we have unlimited Actions minutes because we're an open source repo. So maybe that works. And then CodeRabbit says that it does unlimited PR reviews on open source repos. So I think we'll try free things first.
Yeah, I think all the magic will be in how good a prompt we can come up with. Anyway, I'm super excited, Mike. Thank you. Also, there's a package serving thing. Are there questions about package serving?
I saw Cloudflare in the Osquery packaging stuff when I did it yesterday. Can you just tell us what's changed?
Sorry, you saw what? Nothing has changed in like a year.
Oh, okay. So I guess I don't understand what the agenda item is then.
I don't know. Someone wrote down package serving now through Cloudflare, partly.
Oh, you didn't write that. Who wrote that?
Me.
Hi, Mike. Do you have a question?
Nope. I ate up the first half hour of this meeting.
Mike, you said not me. Was that right?
Right. I didn't do that line.
Okay.
I don't know who that is.
There must be like a way to see blame on here. Okay, so yeah, that's actually more of my memory. As I saw Cloudflare we started using Cloudflare like S2 for like a while ago.
A while ago. So the way things work today, we serve package. Okay, so we serve packages by two paths. We serve packages directly through the GitHub releases. Three paths: directly through the GitHub releases, through our website, the downloads thing links to stuff, and through the RPM and dpackage sources. A lot of, I forget if the website's using GitHub, the GitHub releases, or using R2. I think it's using R2. Basically, we used to use S3 for everything, and a lot of things used S3's HTTP interface. But S3 is expensive, so I moved it all to Cloudflare. So Cloudflare basically just looks like S3. If you look at the build and release automation scripts, push it into both places. So I think of S3 as being a more durable backup, but none of the HTTP serving is through S3. That's all just off the Cloudflare stuff. The one thing we do still do is we do still maintain the S3 bucket, and I can tell you that I pay about $300 a month because someone is using that S3 bucket. The last time we talked about this, we talked about running brownouts to basically get people off of it, and I just haven't done it yet.
Let's shut it down. Oh my God, that's so much. Let's shut it down.
It is within what I am willing to be donating to the Osquery project.
You're a hero and a gentleman, but I feel like every time this comes up, I have the same reaction. Well, let's shut it down with Osquery 6.
I'm totally gay. Every time I think about it, I'm like, how do I log in again? I don't remember. At some point, I will just like turn it off, and see if anyone complains about it.
And anyway, I'm looking at the edit history on this document. It looks like this is like copy pasta from like you've based this off of an agenda from 2023, and then you probably accidentally still had this in something.
Oh, maybe that's weird. I thought I grabbed the template, and the date on the template is 2023. So, but
maybe the template somehow has the package serving thing in there. I don't know.
I was in another meeting at the time.
In the edit history, it looks like the original version of this contained this package serving thing. I think we can just delete it.
It can be a Ceph error, no big deal.
And I think that I hadn't seen the workflow run for a while, so yesterday I was like, it has S3 and R2. But and then I saw this on the agenda, so I was like, there must be something that Ceph wanted to discuss about that. But I think in retrospect, it's just like funny set of coincidences.
If anyone hangs out in knows the Linux world enough, the one thing that I don't like about our current package flows is, so the Osquery project maintains an RPM and a dpackage server. And by server, I really just mean an R2 bucket that's set up correctly. But the software that we use to maintain it has to sync down the entire S3 bucket, add the file, regenerate the indexes, and then mirror it back. And that takes like 15 minutes. So 15 minutes of the release process is just syncing that back and forth.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I don't know if there is a better... Every few years, I like go scrounging around to see if there's a better way to manage this, and I haven't really found one yet, and I haven't written one yet. So,
hey, can you send me an email with some of that? I'll send you, or let's see. I have people I can ask about that one that host pretty extensive ones, and I know some of them are on S3. I suspect we have a solution for it.
I'd be interested in knowing what they do. I was trying to remember where that GitHub action lives.
Yeah, or anything you have on it that I can.
The action, I think that what you're referring to is on.
It's in code signing.
Yeah, code signing. Yeah.
And while I'm digging this up for Philip, can I just stick it in chat here in a minute?
Yeah.
my office, my employer, is becoming more interested in improving supply chain security.
Makes sense.
And I have been reminding them that our software makes heavy use of Osquery. And I don't know what will fall out of this. I may pull them into the code signing repo, because if like our sec team wants to look around and make suggestions, I think that's fine.
I can't remember again now why that repo is not public. I feel like it was
Because we
something to do
didn't
with
we didn't want randos on the internet sending us PRs and poking around.
yours because but like
Because
I
like we
still don't
host
understand. Like there was also some concern about secrets maybe, but secrets from do not get sent to workflows from forked repos.
But it's easy for admins to click a wrong button, right? Like it's you have to pay.
Well,
a
you
lot
have to
more
merge. You
PRs
have to merge the PR.
or approve it. It's just I don't know.
No,
It's like
approving it
you're
wouldn't do
probably
that.
right.
Well, okay, maybe this is just something to chat about the next one. I personally have no problem inviting anyone to that repo, and I think that we should endeavor to open source it because why? This is just like a gap in our transparency.
I feel differently. I am 100% supportive of inviting anyone who we kind of know. Like they show up in an office hours, they work for our employers. Like cool, welcome. Like you can see what's going on here. But I feel like it's a little bit of obscurity, so to me it feels a little bit like we've intentionally made this one a little bit harder. Like I don't even want to deal with people kicking the tires, and maybe that's wrong, but that's always been I think where I was and where Alessandro was. I don't know, we can revisit it. It's not set in stone.
It's fine. We don't need to discuss it more right now. I am on board with if you want to invite any other people or anyone on here or anyone listening wants to get on there, like let's talk and imagine we can.
Philip, here's a giant paste into chat.
Okay.
That's like some relevant parts of the snippet there, right? So it's using freight, I think. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's using freight to maintain a repo, which is designed to work off local disks. So it has to sync the repo locally, use freight, and then resync it up. So it doesn't know that it's remote, and that ends up burning. I mean, it's free. It's not like it's a big deal, but it just takes time. It's like the slowest part of our release.
Have you considered there's a I think it's called Fuse tool that allows you to mount an S3 bucket to make it appear local.
I haven't done a lot of work on this, so I don't know.
Yeah, the other option is our clone has the ability to mount an S3 bucket locally so that it appears as if it's just a local network share. Works pretty well. That's actually probably the simplest one. So that may be a simpler mechanism, but yeah, let me ask a couple people here if any of them have a standard way they've been doing it. I'm pretty sure we do.
Okay.
Huh.
Anything?
I think
Sorry, go on, Stefan.
the issue is still in the process. I forget how exactly, because one of the things it does, it's running. Well, actually, we are running, probably to have more information about the files. We are running SHA file, SHA-SUM also. So the thing is that you would still download every file, even if it's through a mount to S3.
we shouldn't need to run SHA-SUM on the old files, so this feels like something that we're doing non-ideally if we're doing that.
Yeah.
It's like stuff doesn't, like, we should be treating this stuff as immutable as best we can.
Why are we downloading it from the S3 instead of having a central? Is there not a central spot that the files are all generated? We can generate the signing and then publish it all up to the S3 as a single upload?
I don't understand your question.
So I was talking with the product owner of Clear Linux a while back. The design that he came up with for how to generate packages quite a while back was you have a you have a Docker file that creates all the packages. You, as part of running the Docker file, generate basically a folder structure that is the deb or RPM repo. You tar that up or whatever you want to do, and then you publish it to the place that you want it eventually published.
Perhaps the gap here, Osquery, perhaps incorrectly, maintains a source repository with every historic Osquery version in it.
Okay.
So all
Yeah,
of the
makes sense.
time is spent downloading every prior Osquery release because those are all in the repo.
I guess maybe it's not necessary to do a whole sync. We could just CP or whatever. I think it's like, you know, AWS S3 CP like files the few new files into it, but also like it doesn't really matter much to me. Like we do this like every 6 weeks, and the fact that it takes the 10 minutes is like whatever.
Okay. It bothers me, so someday I might fix it. I don't even know. Is there value in keeping all the historic things in the RPM repo?
Like all of them? I think
Yeah.
probably
No.
not.
I mean, if the S3, so the S3 bucket, it's probably beneficial to have a few versions.
Yeah, like maybe the last major version or something.
Or the last 3, right? Like whatever.
Or the
Yeah.
last 3
Yeah.
minor versions. Yeah, like I think certainly all of them ever is like wildly unnecessary. The downloads are still there for all the old ones.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to get rid of our archival downloads. I'm sort of pondering, like, do we need these in the RPM, in like the live RPM source?
In the packaging repo? Yeah, no, I don't think
No.
so.
Okay, maybe that's a direction then to explore.
Yeah.
That might be simpler.
I can understand if we have version 6, once version 6 is out, having version 6 and 3 minor versions of that and the latest version of V5.
That's more than I would do.
But that's like the maximum extent.
I wouldn't try and get clever about major versions. I would just say you can have the last N releases, and the N is like 5-ish, plus or minus. Like pick a number and just keep the last. You know, every time we add one, we delete some off the back end, and that's that.
Yeah, if you want to build the automation for that, or just like once a year or whenever you get annoyed, like manually delete stuff that's no longer useful.
Okay, well, this helps me. I'll file it in my head, and if I ever feel motivated, I'll make progress on it, or get AI to help me or something.
Well, and I guess is part of the thing when we build all the packages, they get uploaded to the S3 bucket, but the generation of the repo happens in a completely separate thing.
It's complicated. When we build them all, they get uploaded both into the GitHub releases and into the S3 bucket. And I don't remember if we have 2 different S3 buckets for archival and for active package serving, or if that's in the same S3 bucket, just out of different directories. So I can hand wave over all of that. None of that's real hard to figure out.
Okay.
Right. Like I like having an archival record, in S3 or R2
Yeah.
or wherever. But
Yeah.
I think probably we don't need to have them all live in an RPM repo. That feels a little excessive. So yeah, okay. Okay. Anything else people want to talk about? If not, thank you all for hanging out in my absence.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.